What's up, my people? What's up, my fellow cave dwellers? You know, I got to go live, see what's up in the world. I got a few tabs open. I'm just going to go past these stories. I haven't learned about them. I'm reacting to these the same time as you. You're seeing them. Leave your comments. Tell me what you think about them. We got South Korea. We got Hamas, Israel. We have Apple agrees to pay $95 million. We have that Kentucky sheriff who shot the judge. And we have some more silly topics, no jumper, Adam 22, whack 100 type stuff. But let's stop off in South Korea first, see what's going on. As you know, the president has basically been impeached, but there's been some protest and some stalling. He's still in power. They can't get him out. Let's see what they say.
More political dysfunction continuing there in Seoul, South Korea. Now, what you're looking at right now, supporters there of South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol. Remember, Yeol so far defied an arrest warrant. Well, his supporters, they are gathering near the presidential residence to protect him from being detained. Now,
yeah, I think the U.S. go crazy talking about some, January 6th or whatever the hell it was, the resurrection. Listen, these people are standing in front of him saying, come get him. We dare you try. They're willing to die for they do.
Seoul court issued a warrant to detain Yoon and a separate warrant to search his residence on Tuesday, but enforcing them is complicated as long as he remains in his official residence. So this turned quite tense yesterday. You literally had police and law enforcement go to serve an arrest warrant to the former president and to take him into custody and to detain him. His personal protective service that protects him tussled with and fought with those law enforcement officials who were trying to detain him. They were unsuccessful. So now you are seeing right now there in Seoul, South Korea, the South Korean capital, supporters of Yoon gathering near the presidential residence to protect him from being detained. So he's still...
Why don't the U.S. say nothing about this? Because it's South Korea and they're our friends. If they were trying to get rid of Kim Jong-un and North Korea, we'll say everything about it. Oh, they're vicious, evil people. Blah, blah. But this isn't democratic. This man was impeached by the correct process. They were there to serve a warrant. Why haven't the U.S. come out and say, "No, we don't condone this. He needs to be held he needs to be held responsible and go to the courts and fight his case, plead his case, whatever." But the U.S. don't say nothing about their friends. South Korea, the Saudis, Saudi Arabia, you go over there, they could take your head off. They still don't even allow women to drive cars and have rights, but the U.S. don't say nothing about that. But you talking about Iran? Oh, they evil. Oh, they just backwards cavemen. But as long as the U.S. like you, they're politicians, they don't say nothing about what you're doing.
Has not been detained. Remember, he was impeached over that effort in December that he made to impose martial law on South Korea. Remember, it was only in place for about 5 hours. The National Assembly there unanimously voted to rescind that. Yoon's political future was up in the air, hanging by a thread after that, and then he was impeached by the National Assembly, and now there is an arrest warrant for him.
They got buses. They got buses back there. Like they said, "Yo, come help us stop the police from raiding the former president." That's something that Trump probably could do. If they was to raid Trump house or something, he probably maybe get. I don't know if they really gonna be out there for Trump, but they'll try. You'll have little bits and pieces, but once the military there or the National Guard come, they would leave.
He has not been detained yet in execution of that arrest warrant because those protecting him, his kind of protective detail, are shielding him at the presidential residence.
They should all be held.
So this is going to be quite a problem to enforce this. It remains complicated as long as he remains in his official residence there. So I thought that was interesting. Remember, South Korea, one of our closest allies in East Asia, one of our closest friends, going through it, so to speak.
Going through it. It's so weird. I guess said. Maybe his official residence is like a neutral ground where he can't no no police or something. Maybe that's like the branch, like almost a separation of branch. You got the judicial branch and the legislative. Maybe his official residence is like the legislative branch and the judicial branch, the police and stuff cannot trespass upon that or something. I don't know. Somebody, y'all know? Let me know. Let me see.
So this is a story we're going to stay on top of. Wanted to get that in. Let's get our final commercial break in this hour. Okay, so Stop the Steal, of course, it's a common refrain from former President Trump and his supporters in the wake of the 2020 election, and it looks like supporters
stop the steal. They saying stop like from the election being stolen. Yeah, these are all older too. One day ago. Did he say something? $12 hours, 3 hours.
Thousands braved the rain and snow to rally in South Korea's capital Seoul on Sunday as a warrant for impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol's arrest was set to expire at midnight on Monday.
They got a deadline?
Some demanded Yoon's arrest following his botched attempt at imposing martial law in Asia's fourth largest economy last month, while other protesters opposed it. In remarks that could push the political crisis towards another high-stakes confrontation, the presidential security chief said on Sunday he could not cooperate with efforts to arrest the impeached leader. Park Chung-jun cited the legal debate surrounding the warrant, saying that Yoon is still president, even though Parliament had voted to impeach him. It's up to the Constitutional Court to make a final decision on whether to remove or reinstate him. Park's comments came after a Seoul court rejected a complaint from Yoon's lawyers that the arrest warrant was illegal and invalid, the Yonhap news agency reported. His lawyers have said the anti-graft force leading his criminal probe has no authority under South Korean law to investigate any case involving insurrection accusations.
And we be here in America think we special with our insurrection, so no, we're not special.
Saturday, the investigators had asked acting President Choi Sang-mok, the finance minister, to order the Presidential Security Service to comply with the arrest warrant. That came a day after the security officers blocked them from arresting Yoon in a 6-hour standoff.
That's crazy. Police versus police?
In a statement on Sunday, the finance ministry said Choi urged authorities to make sure no one was hurt by efforts to enforce the law.
So basically, they don't want to hurt the people, but they hit security. That's like the Secret Service protecting Trump. That's crazy, man. God bless America, because I wouldn't want to be over here. I'm sure they get away with a lot more than what our politicians do. Are the same amount. Let's see. Hamas refuses Israel's demand for a list of 34 Gazan captives. I really hate this. I know some more recent. I'm going to look at this, but I know it's some updates, and I know Netanyahu has agreed to restart the talk. So let's see what happened, though.
Well, in other news, Hamas is changing its position in the hostage negotiations yet again. This comes as a new report
yet again. You know he biased.
Details the abuse hostages have suffered at the hands of the terror group. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl reports.
Israel's health ministry submitted a report to the United Nations this week documenting the testimony that comes from former hostages about the physical, sexual, and psychological abuse they suffered in Gaza. Women, men, and children say the abuse included beatings, isolation, deprivation of food and water, branding, hair pulling, and sexual assault. Natan Sharansky, who spent 9 years in Soviet prison for spreading the truth about human rights abuses in the former Soviet Union, told CBN News the report exposes the hypocrisy in the world's thinking.
Women's organizations who are not ready to accept that if rapists are from the oppressed and the raped women are oppressors, then it's not a crime in their eyes.
Sharansky says the report is...
It's still a crime. But at least he admitting that people are being oppressed.
Hard to read.
It can remind people why our struggle is so justified and why we are not ready to stop the struggle as long
as long as our security is not guaranteed. So he said, hey, even though they're being oppressed, they are raping their oppressors, and we're not willing to stop. That's some gaslighting word playing. Like, neither one. There can be two evils. It can be evil that they're raping women, and it's also evil that you're oppressing them. But to like justify you what you're doing, because they could say, "Hey, you stop oppressing us, we'll stop raping." Like that. His word game is crazy.
As long as our hostages are in their hands, and as long as our security is not guaranteed.
In the negotiations to free the remaining hostages, Hamas is demanding a week-long ceasefire, and several days into it, says it will release a partial list of hostages still in Gaza. Israel's defense minister threatens more war if Hamas doesn't start freeing hostages soon.
The IDF will intensify and strengthen its activities against the nests of terrorism in Gaza until the hostages are released and Hamas is eliminated.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
We need to stand with Israel and stand until these hostages come up. Their claims that some national aid, well, they put it in rockets, into guns, into tunnels. None of it went to the people of Gaza. None of it went to those citizens. Before October 7th, there was a survey from Stanford University that showed massive food insecurity. That means hunger in Gaza, all before.
Yeah, there's hunger in Gaza all before the war took place. So, yeah, that's why they're oppressed. One day ago. Four days ago. So we got some from a couple hours ago. Now that's 4 days ago. We can't watch that. Okay, we got one from a couple hours ago.
Welcome back. I'm Austin Westfall. You're looking at video of a protest in Tel Aviv today. People have been taking to the streets regularly in Tel Aviv in an effort to demand the release of hostages in Gaza. This comes as Hamas released a video this morning showing signs of life from a 19-year-old Israeli hostage named Liri Albag. We will not show the video on our air. It's the latest in a series of clips that the terrorist group has released of Israeli captives taken in the October 7th attack. Retired Marine Intelligence Officer Hal Kempfer is standing by. Hal, why is it that Hamas releases videos like this? What do they get out of it?
Austin, it's basically psychological warfare, psychological operations. They're basically playing to the domestic audience in Israel. The protests that you see on the streets are exactly what they want to see happen. They want to see those things occur. It's a way of negotiating in public. It's putting pressure on Netanyahu and his administration to come to terms, to accelerate the negotiation process for a ceasefire. And so this is just one of those things that was all timed based on whatever's happening, and we don't have all the details of what's happening with the negotiations behind closed doors, but I'm sure that if I was part of that, I would probably look at that and say, okay, this is exactly why you released that video. Now, by the way, it's a 19-year-old teenage girl that's being held hostage. That's not coincidental. They're trying to play on heartstrings, by the way, they're held underground. They have no sense of day or night in many cases. So they are completely reliant on their hostage takers for whatever information is going on in the outside world. Emotional and psychological distress that she must be under, and all the hostages are under. This is psychological warfare, is what it.
You know what's the worst part about this? The U.S., if we wasn't so damn biased and support Israel, we could have actually went in there as a negotiator and neutral party and stopped this months ago. It's past a year this war been going on. Come on.
It is.
Hal, sometimes when these hostage videos are released, they have a hostage say a recent news story in order to prove that it was recorded recently. In this case, they didn't do that.
Raise alarm bells to me.
Yeah.
Which is she still alive? They could have done a series of things some time back where they saw hostages were having health problems or severe psychological problems, or there was some other reason, and they had them pre-record a number of these videos, throwing out dates, but there was no way of verifying. You know, the traditional thing with, for example, kidnappings will be that the hostage will hold up traditionally would hold up a newspaper. And the newspaper would have a date and, of course, a big article that was for that day, you know, whatever the headline is. And that was a proof of life thing to show that the hostage was still alive, the kidnapped victim was still in Israel.
2025 now. They could fucking just have him sitting there with a blank piece of paper, a green screen, and then superimpose that shit on there now. We'll never know. So that's not even a good way now.
Are showing this video.
There's been no shortage of activity in Gaza. Trey Yingst saying, in fact, that there's been an uptick in rocket fire from Gaza over the past couple of days. This week marks 15 months since the war began. Hal, at this point in the war, do you find it incredible that they're actually still able to fire long-range rockets out of Gaza at this point in the war?
It really is interesting to see. Here they are, over 450 days in the war, and they're still able to run out there, which is literally run out in the street and fire these missiles into Israeli territory. Of course, Israel's got drones flying over. They've got air cover over. They've got, you know, what we would call
15 months. We damn near closer to 2 years.
Counter battery fire, which is, you know, mortars and artillery and rockets that they can fire at these systems once they spot them. But Hamas is still able to do that. Another thing that coincides with this is there's a report out that Hamas has actually had improvements in their recruiting efforts, of all things.
You know why they had an improvement in their recruiting efforts? Because 80% of Gaza is women and children. Women and children under the age of 18. They're homeless. Gaza is saying, people, or Hamas is saying, hey, come join us and we'll feed you. We'll feed you and your family. You think these kids want to be sitting there joining Hamas? No. But Israel's making it looking real good. They have no choice almost. To come fight for their people or just die in vain. If you give me the choice, I'd rather die out on the battlefield than sit there and die at home starving. Like, it's stupid. Netanyahu wants this war. We all know he wants this war so he could keep pounding rockets at Gaza and taking the land and building more settlements, and they just take more and more territory, and then they never gonna give it back. They just stay there and nobody say nothing about it. That's how Israel came to be.
So as Israel is basically causing heavy attrition with Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad fighters, they are recruiting new members. Obviously, they can't really train them much. They are essentially going to be low-grade fodder, if you will, for Hamas and doing whatever operations they are doing. So their life expectancy on the battlefield will be very short. However, it does say something about how Hamas is still able to bring people in to fight for it, and it makes it tough from a counterinsurgency standpoint.
And then they're going to be like, oh, well, see, look, the Palestinian people are still Hamas. They're supporting them, blah, blah. These people just hungry. They're just hungry, man. Anyway, let's move on.
431, our top story on this Tuesday morning. A drug smuggling tunnel along Arizona's border has been shut down. Take a look at these photos. This is from Sonora State Police in Mexico. Officers say U.S. Customs and Border Protection helped them find the tunnel, which ran from Mexico to St. Louis in Yuma County. Investigators say they believe that the tunnel was in its early stages. This is the third tunnel discovered near Yuma this year alone.
Today, some new laws are now in effect across our state.
And that includes a number of laws that were passed by the legislature and also some ballot measures. For example, casitas are now legal in large.
Somebody would want to do this to him. I have no idea.
Christmas morning was supposed to be filled with family. Instead, his family was left wondering where he was.
Christmas wasn't Christmas for us this year.
Whole different story, but
he does have a daughter that he was supposed to go home to that day to unwrap presents with her.
Jesus was planning to be there with us to open presents. He bought her a Hellcat Charger, like Power Wheel. He was super excited to, share that with her, and he
was on leave from duty overseas.
RIP to that man, but this is what we're here for, a Vegas Cybertruck explosion.
Sees.
The individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle.
Las Vegas police showed new evidence like photo IDs belonging to Livelsberger and video of the Cybertruck driving on Las Vegas Boulevard. There were also 2 guns in the car bought legally by Livelsberger.
Jesus, those guns almost damn near melted.
Burger,
Not damn near, they did.
Monday.
Looking into exactly what the motivation is remains our #1 priority.
Police have mapped out the trip the truck made from Colorado and have photos of the suspect.
So he bought this truck. He spent money to buy this new Cybertruck to drive to Las Vegas just to shoot himself and blow it up in front of Trump Tower. Was that a message to Elon and Trump?
Back along the way.
We still have only ever seen him in this vehicle, and we're not aware of any other subjects involved in this particular case.
The FBI searched a home connected to the suspect in Colorado Springs. Investigators say the truck was rented in Denver using the Turo app. That's the same app used by New Orleans terror suspect Shamsu Din-Jabbar, who drove a rented truck into a crowd on Bourbon Street hours earlier. Jabbar also spent time in the Army, but the FBI...
Whoever it was that had this truck probably was tracking it or something. I wonder how many miles he bought, because Toro, you got to like put the amount of days and miles. I wonder if he was like, damn, this motherfucker taking this. He only paid for 600 miles. He about 1,000 miles away. I'm going to get paid. And then they did this to his car. I hope he got the good insurance on Toro.
FBI says right now there is no definitive link between the 2 situations, and both men acted alone.
If these turn out to be simply similarities, very strange similarities to have. And so we're not prepared to rule in or rule out anything at this point.
Police say both Jabbar and Livelsberger served at Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, but did not overlap.
New tonight, a home robbery in Surprise has...
That's just weird. They both served same base. They both rented cars on Turo. They both basically planned to blow up the car because the guy in New Orleans basically had IDs in his truck, but they said that he ran into a construction vehicle which basically destroyed the truck. So, I don't know. It's a little fishy, man. What's our next? Come on, let me go. Remember, this is just, I'm just looking at random things. I'm sure you're interested in them too. So, what's this? Apple agrees to $95 million settlement over Siri's eavesdropping claim. We all know they're eavesdropping. We all been sitting there talking by a phone and talking about whatever, blah, 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 this, I want to buy this, blah, blah. And then you go look on your phone and then all of a sudden it's showing you ads for that thing you just talking about. Come on.
Now, Apple owners could be getting a payout. Our chief business correspondent, Taylor Young, joining us here in the studio to talk about this. And this lawsuit doesn't just accuse Apple of eavesdropping. There's actually more, Taylor.
Yeah, it's also about where this information is allegedly going. So an example of this in the lawsuit is 2 people having a private conversation, maybe next to an iPhone, and they're talking potentially about a product or a specific brand. And then the next thing they know, on their social media or web browsers, they're seeing advertisements for this exact product. And I think over the last couple of years, iPhone users have really theorized that their iPhones have been listening to them, and this lawsuit claims that it has been. So, you know, in this lawsuit, it claims that for over a decade, Apple has been secretly activating Siri to record private conversations. It also accuses the company of then sharing the content of those conversations with advertisers.
That sounds like more than $95 million.
In an attempt to sell their products. And some may be wondering, don't I have to give Siri a prompt in order for it to work? Well, the lawsuit says these recordings happened even if users did not trigger their device by saying, "Hey Siri." Now, while Apple has agreed to settle, the company has reportedly denied any wrongdoing. And I do think it's important to note that this...
Hell no. See, that's how they get away with it. They just throw money at it and say, here you go, $95 million. That's what they settled on. So imagine what it was really worth. Somebody, somebody got to approve that. Hey, you listen, if we take this to court, not only is it going to do some brand damage, but it's going to be about $500 million, maybe up into $2 billion if they could really dig into our information and request documents for us. And we don't want that because that exposes us, but it exposes the people we're doing business with too, and they can see the deals. So let's just settle on this $95 million. Nah. And then no wrongdoing. Nah.
Case still needs to be approved by a federal judge.
All right, so if it is approved, how do you know if you're eligible for some money?
Yeah, so First of all, it is estimated that millions of Americans could be potentially have a pot of some of this money. And it's not just iPhone users. So the settlement would apply to anyone in the U.S. who owned or purchased a Siri-enabled Apple device between September of 2014 to December 31st of 2024, so this last Friday. Those devices include a long list of Apple products, including the iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, MacBook, iMac,
Some people gonna get
HomePod, iPod Touch, and Apple TV. So really everything across the board owned by Apple. And as for the settlement money, if approved, Apple product owners could get paid up to $20 per device with a limit of 5 devices. So really the reality here is the biggest payout that we could be seeing is $100. And that could also be lower in the long term if more
$100. That don't even pay back the people. They should make those people pay back all the Apple shit that they bought. That'd be $1,000. That'd really light a fire up there.
more people apply to be part of this lawsuit.
Yeah, because most people, you have an iPhone, you have an iPad, you have so many things that Apple, just as you said. But now, what's the criteria that people need to be able to know? They're listening to this going, you know what, I might be part of this settlement. What do I need to know?
So because it would, in theory, be very difficult to have concrete evidence of this, all you really have to do is just swear under oath that Siri was accidentally activated or randomly activated while you were having a private conversation. So if you're someone who might be out there thinking, I could this potentially happen to me, all you have to do is swear under oath that it did.
So could this be happening more often than we actually think, though, Taylor? Because, I mean, Siri, I have so many...
And then that don't mean they're going to stop. Because if they made $1 billion off it, $2 billion, to pay 95 ain't nothing. That's a little tax.
Devices, you know, at home that you can be able to pick up on conversations.
Yeah, and Apple is not the only company that has received a complaint like this. There was a similar lawsuit filed against Google for its voice assistant. So that case in front of your phone, which is crazy to think because we all carry our phones with us everywhere.
We all been there and Siri say, and they come on like, I ain't talking to you, Siri. Come on, they listening.
We go now to Tom Homan. He will serve as Mr. Trump's border czar, and he joins us this morning from Naples, Florida.
Trump.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Deportations are now at a decade high. They were at the end of 2020.
She looked like that actress. I can't think of her name, but she looked like her.
24, nearly 300,000 people deported by the Biden administration. The incoming administration has promised the largest deportation operation in history. What's the number? What's the measure of success?
Well, let's talk about this administration's, what they claim is a huge deportation number this year. Actually, if you drill into the numbers, about 80% of those numbers are actually Border Patrol arrests that the enforcement move operation of ICE process and move back across the border. They weren't internal enforcement arrests. If you look at the historic number of illegal entries the last 4 years, ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, has the lowest number of deportations in the history of the agency. So they're playing a numbers game, just like they play the numbers game and the number of people coming across the border.
Okay.
So even though they claim we got the highest number of deportations, look at those deportations, who actually made those arrests, who actually removed those people. It's not ICE.
Okay, it's still a higher number than the Trump administration, but I want to ask you, for the incoming Trump administration, what's the measure? It is not deportations at the border. You're saying you are going to measure success by people who are already internal in the country to deport. That's how you're going to measure it. And what's that figure?
Well, again, let's get the numbers straight. You say they were higher than the Trump administration. It isn't about how many get deported, because Trump had illegal border crossings at a 45-year low. So, of course, removal is going to be lower. The number is how many were released into the United States that are now in the country illegally. Under Biden administration, we have millions of people released in the United States who have lost their hearings, and we have millions of people that are, released in the United States despite a statute saying that you cannot be released in the United States.
So what he's saying is, yes, technically Biden could play with the numbers, but like, we deported 500,000 immigrants, and Trump only deported 250,000. Well, that's because they didn't get in. They didn't get in. So your numbers is higher because you letting a bunch of people in, and then some of them are going back, and ICE is stopping them at the border and finding them. But when it's like, hey, if you make it to America, you get to stay. Imagine how many people just start coming over here like, we just got to make it past Border Patrol. But when Trump was here, it's like, even if you make it past Border Patrol, then what? We still going to take your ass out. We're going to come and get you, whatever Democratic city you in. If you in New York, if you in New Jersey, if you in Chicago, whatever, Detroit, we're going to come and get you. Biden ain't coming to get them. So once they pass the border, it's up. So that's like saying, oh, this guy has stopped more people from breaking in his house than you. Yeah, because nobody's broken in my house because they know I'll shoot their ass. Whatever it is, is different. Biden is being reactive, not proactive.
States without proper documentation, you shall be detained. So you can compare the numbers of deportations under Trump versus Biden, but when you consider a 45-year low in crossings, of course the number of deportations is going to be lower because we don't have that population to process and deport.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to measure success going forward. For day
Look, she don't want to hear that. She don't want to hear that.
one, can you help us understand what the plan is? A number of industries in this country hire undocumented workers because they are cheap labor. On day one, are you going to restart raids on work sites, on construction sites?
The President Trump's been clear, as I've been clear from day one, that President is going to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. And have you heard from your previous segments, we have a huge national security issue in this country. The southwest border has become the biggest national security vulnerability we've seen in this nation. FBI Director Wray agrees with me. We know there's people in this country who pose a national security threat. They've arrested a record number of people on the terrorist watch list, a 3,500% increase in people on the terrorist watch list being arrested at the border. We got over 2 million known gotaways. We know 2 million people crossed the border, weren't arrested, weren't vetted, weren't fingerprinted. So you got to ask yourself, why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Why didn't they pay less, turn themselves into Border Patrol, get a free airline ticket to the city of their choice, get a free hotel room, get 3 meals a day, get free medical care?
I'm not disputing that it is a hemisphere-wide crisis. We're talking about how you're going to deal with it. That's why I'm asking you, when you say criminals, does that mean you are going to go into already existing prisons at local level and deport people who are in those prisons? Are you going to go to workforces? I mean, how do you know where the criminals are, I guess is the question. And if they're working at a work site, are you going to show up to surprise them?
Well, look, we know where a lot of the criminals are. ICE they're great at this work. We know where some are, but they simply haven't been able to go arrest them because of Secretary Mayorkas' priorities. It handcuffed ICE. So we know where a lot of criminals are. They've been prevented from arresting that we're going to arrest starting day one. As far as being in jails and prisons, we would love to work in local jails, but sanctuary cities won't allow us into those jails. It's much easier to arrest a public safety threat and the safety and security of public jail than out in the street, because the officer's safer that way, the alien's safer that way, the community's safer that way. But sanctuary cities who continues to release public safety threats back in the community, to the immigrant community, it puts that community at greater risk of crime. And here's what's going to happen when we go to the community and find that person, find that criminal alien, he's probably going to be with others will have to arrest. So it's not safe for the community, not safe for the officers, not safe for anybody. Let us arrest a bad guy in the jail cell where you chose to arrest somebody and put him in a jail cell because obviously he's a public safety threat.
Okay. What you just said in there, it sounded like you were talking about collateral arrests. So you're going to target people you know are criminals, but if they happen to be living in a house where there are other undocumented people, you're going to sweep them up too.
They criminals.
That's what I think you were just saying there. I wonder how you're going to parse out some of those collateral arrests. For example, will Dreamers be protected? Donald Trump has said he wants to work with Democrats to protect them and give them status. That takes a long time in Congress. What do you do in the meantime? How do you make sure they're not caught up in a dragnet?
Look, every person ICE arrests, they do what we call a fugitive operations spreadsheet. They know exactly who they're going to arrest. They know exactly where they're probably likely to find them, and they have a lot of information on that arrest. Other people that are there that may be illegal, they'll handle by case basis.
Okay.
The concentration, I want to be clear, on some public safety threats. If more agents in the jails means less agents in the neighborhoods. That's why I'm pleading with sanctuary cities. Let us in the jail to arrest the bad guy. That way you're not forcing in the community.
So he said they arrest these people, take them to jail. They do something. They go to jail like American citizens. They do their time and then get out. Now ICE got to go find them. Instead of the local jails, because it's not federal prison, right? The local jails, the federal government just can't come in and say, hey, you keeping those dudes in that prison right there in New York? We want them. No, they got to go through a whole bunch of red tape instead of him just saying, listen, you just got 10 years for assault or whatever it is. You got to go back to your home country. Here you go, ICE. That's all they got to do. If you go to then that immigrant's family is safe, because instead of him coming knock on the mother door and then he got brothers and sisters there who are illegal and they got to go to jail now or maybe be at risk. Listen, do what's right. Don't go back home to your family. Take that L.
We didn't ask them, would you rather have ICE operating in your local jails, or would you want them in the community? What do you think they're going to say? They don't want bad criminal aliens in their neighborhoods either. So let us work with the jails. Let us work with law enforcement. Sanctuary cities are not safe for the immigrant community. They're not safe for our officers.
Okay, so that's like Secure Communities Act kind of action. But then where do you send people? Because some of these countries like Venezuela don't accept deportations right now. Mexico's president indicated her country might be willing to receive non-Mexican migrants who are deported. How does that work? Does the U.S. pay Mexico to then ship those people off somewhere else?
Well, first of all, we got President Trump coming in the Oval Office, and he's proven during his first administration his leadership on illegal immigration was a game changer because, for instance, El Salvador wouldn't take back MS-13 members when I was the ICE director. It took President Trump 48 hours to get El Salvador to take back their criminal aliens into their prisons. Mexico didn't want to do the Remain in Mexico program, but President Trump was able to get Remain in Mexico established in Mexico. He was able to get Mexico put military in the southern and northern border. President Trump's a strong president. This administration has not forced these countries to take them back. And we have what we call a third safe country. We already have countries talking about taking back people from other countries. If for instance, Venezuela don't want to take their people back, there's other ways we can do it. There's other countries be willing to accept them. We're hoping that President Trump will work with Venezuela and like he did with Mexico and El Salvador and get these countries taken back.
All Trump got to do is tell them, listen, you want less tariffs? Okay, let's do a deal. We'll give you a discount on the tariffs if you start taking some of these deportations.
They don't. They're still going to be deported. They're just going to be deported to a different country. We're not going to be held up on removing public safety trust in this country. We got to put the safety of the American people first. We've had too many young women murdered and raped and burned alive by members of Venezuelan gangs. They need to be a priority under this administration. They're going to be a priority starting day one, and they will be deported.
We will stay tuned for the details. Border Czar Tom Homan, thank you for your time.
The fuck a strong leader sound like? Not Biden talking. No, you're gonna take them back, please. You ain't gonna take these motherfuckers back. All right, this is what I really want to see right here. So if you've been keeping up to date, the Kentucky sheriff, basically this is him getting arrested. I seen some of it like the first 2 minutes, and I said I got to stop this and watch this in the cave with the rest of the cave dwellers because this is crazy. He basically felt like they were gonna kill this motherfucker. I think it's a whole sex ring. I think it was the deputy, the sheriff, and other officials. Basically, these women were getting out in Kentucky, and they were on. There's a large number of women on like parole and house arrest and ankle monitors and things like that. That got to check in with these males. So if you're a male or police officer in a position of power, and you got maybe a former drug addict or something, she may be taking care of her kids, and now she afraid to go back to jail. She living her life, and you like, yo, I'm gonna tell the judge you pop dirty. Yeah, and you're going to go back and your children going to go to CPS. And they're like, no, I'll do anything. You do anything? That's what I think these small towns are getting away with. But this is drawing a light to that. So we're just going to watch this and see this sheriff after he shot.
We got to get a crime scene log started.
For the first time, we are seeing body camera footage after a judge is shot in his chambers. And we're hearing from the sheriff accused of the crime.
Please be fair to me, boys. Now, come on now.
I'll tell you more of what Mickey Stein said after police said he shot and killed a judge.
Please be fair to me,
This is a law and crime legal alert. Did you know that children are being diagnosed with serious conditions already and one-time friend, Judge Kevin Mullins? You're going to hear from Mickey Steins after the shooting here in a bit, and some of what he says is frankly a little confusing. The crime is shocking for many reasons. First, it's a county sheriff accused of killing a judge who was his friend and former boss. And the shooting was recorded by a surveillance camera in Judge Mullins' chambers in Letcher County, Kentucky. We've seen it, and it's startling. It's unbelievable. This case is definitely not a whodunit, far from it. It's more of a why did he do it? A lot of people would like to know the answer to that question. Kentucky State Police investigators, Mickey Steins' lawyers, Judge Mullins' family, and the list goes on. That day, Mullins and Steins had lunch together. It was something they had done often. And by all accounts, there was no tension. Then around 3 p.m., Steins and Mullins met in Mullins' chambers. The meeting was recorded by a surveillance camera. A detective explained what happened at a preliminary hearing last year.
I was told that Sheriff Steins had tried to call his daughter, and he had tried to call his daughter from the judge's phone also.
Then, for reasons that remain a mystery, Steins shot Judge Mullins.
He uses the judge's phone to call his daughter. And she picks up, and he's seen something on that phone between the judge and his daughter or his wife or something. And like even this detective right here, he like, oh no, I didn't question the daughter. I didn't seize her phone or nothing. That don't make sense to me. I think somebody's hiding something.
Wasn't present, but when he was taken into custody, I was told by one of the other officers that were there that he made the comment, they're trying to kidnap my wife and kid.
Now we're hearing the 911 call and seeing the aftermath of what happened.
I got emergency at the courthouse. I need ambulance here right now at district courtroom.
Which courthouse?
Court, Lex County.
And what's going on?
Judge has been shot.
The judge?
Yes.
What's his name?
Kevin Mullins.
Go ahead.
What are you got?
Shots fired at Electric County Courthouse and somebody shot Judge Mullins.
You're a can.
No, sir. Just come out on the radio.
Troopers race to the scene. It's not a call.
Did you hear that laugh? Who laughs about that? Like they know him.
Somebody shot Judge Mullins.
You're a can.
No, sir. Just come out on the radio.
Troopers race to the scene. It's not a call that you often get. A judge shot at a courthouse. When troopers arrived, they began separating witnesses.
Well, I told him to put them in separate rooms so they don't talk to each other, too. Yeah. Have you got the witnesses? No. They're doing the witnesses. Who's doing the witnesses? Justin and a couple other people are walking the witnesses down through there.
And the work of securing the crime scene began.
I think he's hitting that other one.
That's a lot, I think.
Good. They still got the 10-15 in the foyer of the courthouse. There's also some witnesses in the judge's office, not far from where he's at. You want us to go ahead and take him down to the jail so we can get the rest of the witnesses out of the judge's office in the courthouse.
Is anybody hurt? Well, we got a lot going on right now.
I didn't realize you talked to
That it is, brother.
At 3:40 p.m., a couple of women who appear to be distraught, possibly family members of Judge Mullins, show up at the courthouse. A trooper holds one of them back. One woman is trying to get into the courthouse, but the trooper will not let her pass the steps. After 4 p.m. that day, dash cameras show officers leading Mickey Steins out of the courthouse in handcuffs to a waiting cruiser.
Hey, that's that one that was on the stand right there, right? That detective.
And then you hear his voice talking with the troopers.
Make sure there ain't no weapons or nothing now.
There ain't nothing in there, bro.
Yeah. Come on now. I'm right here. Open up the back hatch. Come on. Now, come on.
You heard Steins tell the troopers to make sure there weren't any.
We need a mouth reader. Somebody good at reading lips or something, or we need to know what he said, what they was talking about.
Now, come on.
You heard Steins tell the troopers to make sure there weren't any weapons in the back of the cruiser, and he talks then a little more.
Y'all gonna leave me in here and let me dive easy talk? No, I can't get up in there. Come on now. Come on. I'm up in there, bro. I might jump in there. I can't. Yeah, man. I can't get in. These cuffs are way too tight. Come on now, guys. Come on now.
Steins definitely sounds a little paranoid.
You may
Pick your leg up, my brother. Y'all got carbon monoxide in here. Come on now.
He think they're trying to kill his ass. They gonna leave him. He think they're gonna leave him in there with the windows up and let him die of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Come on. I can't sit like this.
Slide sideways.
I can't. Come on now. Be fair to me. We're being good to you, brother. You stick your leg up in there. Come on now, guys. Please don't do this to me.
It's crazy because he's the sheriff. So he's telling them, don't do this to me. You know how many people he probably put in the car? They said, these cuffs too tight. I can't get in. And he like, just shut that door. I'm just assuming there. But he's worried about them killing him or something and him not even making it to the jailhouse. So it's like, what does he know? What is he seeing that he's worried about them killing him? If this sheriff end up dead in a jail somewhere, say they hung himself, I'll be highly suspicious.
Please don't do this to me. Please. You want to scoot on over a little bit to the left? Come on now. Try to scoot on over a little bit more. That way we don't hit you. Can you go any bit farther? I just want to hit you with the door. Put your knee in there, my friend. Hey, Jason. Hey, Bates. Hey, Bates. Can we loosen this up a little or give the window down? I'm sorry? Can we loosen this up a little? Be fair to me, man. I got some air. I'll crack the window for you, but I can turn the air on back here. Okay? Yeah. Be fair to me now. I promise. Yeah, I promise. God, please. I promise. I'll tell you. It's hot back here, man. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Might be having a panic attack.
The drive to the Leslie County Jail from Letcher County takes about an hour, give or take a few minutes. Steins continues to speak, as if he's in fear.
Come on now, guys. Make sure I get to the jail.
At times, it's hard to hear the troopers in the cruiser, but they try to talk to Mickey Steins on the long drive to the jail.
Come on now, guys.
I was asking why you done it. Was it over your family?
Come on now, guys. What are you doing?
I'm just talking to you. I'm just asking, was it something to do with your family or anything like that?
The trooper, after several minutes, tries to ask Steins some more questions.
Was it something to do with your family? Something happened. Because if something did happen, you know, I mean, it'd be good to let us know. Why did you want to talk to your daughter a while ago, Nick? Something did happen that, you know, something that could help you when you go to trial and get a fair trial. Letting us know kind of what's
This a cop. He know better than to talk to another cop. He think they're gonna kill him.
Going on, what led to this.
At one point, Sheriff Steins asks whether the troopers are actually taking him to a national forest. He doesn't believe the troopers are taking him to the right place. They tell him there is a national forest near the jail.
Maybe we're almost to the jail.
Let's just imagine that he found out that it's the judge and the deputies and some other cops. He don't know who to trust. That are like raping women and have this whole little sex ring. We basically got a bunch of Diddy's in Kentucky. I don't think Diddy was raping women. I think he was just giving them drugs and offering it to them and doing whatever he did because he had the power and I don't know if he forced them, but he's scared.
What kind of information comes out always can change how investigations are worked. You know what I mean? And how they're looked at. You know that. Like I said, something led to this.
Come on now, guys. Guys, no, guys.
jail. Got this handcuffs seat right there.
This is not the jail.
I promise you. Yeah.
This is not the jail now. This is not the jail.
The officers continue to drive, and they assure Mickey Steins they are taking him to the Leslie County Jail.
Okay, Mickey. Anyway, so do you want to talk about it?
Now, guys. Don't put me in that Leslie County.
And its impact upon his mental health is apparent. Following Steins' arrest, we found out that he had been deposed in a civil lawsuit in the days leading up to the shooting. A woman named Sabrina Atkins sued the sheriff's office, claiming a deputy named Ben Fields had sex with her while she was on home incarceration. Atkins was arrested in 2021 on a drug charge. Atkins claims that she couldn't afford to pay for an ankle bracelet and was afraid to go back to jail. So Fields, who was supervising her on home incarceration, offered to help her.
Look, he looked like the type that'd do it. Everything about him. Look, the sleeves, the uniform, over everything. Look at the shoes. Everything about him looked like he'll do that.
In exchange for sex. Atkins said she and Fields had sex in Judge Mullins' chambers 6 times. Fields eventually was charged.
That's the judge that was shot.
Criminally and served 6 months in jail.
He got 6 months for that. An officer raping women that he's put in charge of and only got 6 months for that. Come on, guys. It ain't adding up.
He is supposed to be on probation for 6.5 years. We don't know whether this played a role in the shooting, but there have been questions about whether it may have, and here's why. In 2022, investigators with the Kentucky Attorney General's office interviewed Sabrina Atkins, and she claimed to have seen tapes of Judge Mullins having sex with a woman in his chambers.
But he does have some videotapes of some stuff in the judge's chambers.
Where those videotapes
What kind of
at,
stuff?
guys?
Just with girls, sexual and stuff.
Where those tapes?
What describe? Have you seen the videos?
I've seen one partly, and
They were showing it.
you know, just them having sex with girls for the bail to get out of jail.
Meeting being judge.
Right.
Do you know for sure that was a judge? Yes. I mean, how do you know that's the judge?
I've been in front of him.
She said, I've been in front of him. So not only does she know the deputy, but she's been in front of that judge. Come on.
Face is pretty clear on there.
Mickey Stein has pleaded not guilty to the murder charge. His attorneys have suggested he was suffering from an extreme emotional disturbance.
I don't know about that, man, but we're going to know. Let me know, Cave Dwellers. This is the end of that. We've been live for a little bit now, almost an hour. Let me know if y'all even like this and me going down these rabbit holes and collecting these stories. I know they're random. They have nothing to do with each other, but it's going on in the world, in America, and you need to know the truth. That's what we talk. We see past the bullshit, and we find